Welcome to This Explainer. If you're a new barista just stepping behind the bar, you've probably had that moment, right? You take a sip of a pour-over or pull a shot of espresso and think, wait, did someone put actual fruit juice in this? Well, today we're uncovering exactly why some coffees taste like an absolute sweet fruit bomb.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever tasted a massive burst of blueberry, or maybe a bright pop of strawberry in your coffee while you were dialing in your grinder? You were definitely not imagining things. And no, the roaster didn't add any artificial flavoring to the beans. It all actually comes down to a very specific way the coffee was processed back at the farm.
The real culprit behind those crazy flavors is called the natural process, or sometimes you'll hear it called the dry process. It is literally the oldest method of preparing coffee in the world. The coffee seed is simply dried inside the whole, completely intact fruit under the hot sun. This ancient technique originally comes from Ethiopia, right where Arabica coffee was first discovered, and it is the direct cause of those amazing, vibrant flavors you're serving up.
Consider this your perfect barista cheat sheet. When you're chatting with curious customers, you can confidently tell them that natural processed coffees often feature tasting notes like blueberry, strawberry, raspberry, and cherry. They're typically incredibly sweet and, yes, sometimes wonderfully funky. And these exact notes happen precisely because of the extended contact the seed has with that fruit.
Down at the farm level, this ancient process basically boils down to three simple steps. First, pick the cherries. Second, dry the seed inside the whole fruit. And third, mill the final bean. Let's walk through how this builds.
Step 1 is picking and sorting. Because these seeds are going to stay inside the fruit for the entire duration of the process, the cherries themselves are absolutely crucial. Farmers meticulously pick only the ripest, freshest fruit. Then they sort them, often by hand, using large sieves, separating out any unripe cherries along with dirt, soil, and twigs. Once they're perfectly sorted, it's straight to the drying area.
And that brings us to step 2, which is drying. Now, this drying operation is the absolute most critical stage of the whole shebang. The coffee seeds are spread out either on large brick patios or on woven mesh raised beds. Those raised beds are really fantastic because they allow the warm air to circulate entirely around the fruit.
Now, this is not a fast process. It takes up to 4 whole weeks. In week 1, the organic material naturally begins fermenting in the hot sun. Through weeks 2 and 3, the sugars continue to break down, which requires intense, constant labor. Farm workers have to continually rotate the cherries by hand to ensure they dry evenly. Finally, by week 4, the fruit shrinks and dries completely down to an exact 11% moisture content.
So, the crucial point is right here. This is the magic. Because the coffee wasn't washed out of its cherry right away, the sugars get to ferment inside the whole fruit. Those sugars literally absorb right into the seed as it bakes in the sun. That prolonged fruit contact is the exact scientific reason your customer's morning cup ends up tasting like a fresh-baked blueberry muffin.
But, farmers have to strike a really delicate balance here. If the coffee is over-dried, the beans become incredibly brittle and they'll actually shatter during the final step, creating defective beans. But if it's under-dried, they remain way too moist and are prone to rapid attack by fungi or mold. It's a total tightrope walk for the producers.
If the drying goes perfectly, we hit step 3, milling. The dried, shriveled cherries are sent to a dry mill. Here, these large hulling machines use intense friction to strip away all the outer layers of that dried, crusty cherry in one single step. What's left behind is the clean, green coffee seed, which is then bagged, shipped across the world, and roasted for your cafe.
So, what does this all mean for you? Well, what sweet, funky flavors are you going to look for in a natural coffee on your next shift? I really challenge you to go back to your espresso machine, brew a cup of a natural processed coffee, and taste it with this totally new understanding. You now know exactly why it tastes like strawberries, and you've got an amazing story of sun-drenched Ethiopian raised beds to share with your customers. The next time you pour that perfect cup, ask yourself, what other hidden stories are waiting inside your coffee beans?